Marcus Kane coughed blood onto his thin blanket. The old man's breathing came in short, painful gasps. Around him, the underground bunker hummed with dying machines. Red warning lights blinked on broken computer screens. The air tasted stale and metallic. He was alone. Marcus had been alone for 3 months now, ever since Helen died in her sleep. Before that, there had been 12 of them hiding in this concrete tomb beneath Denver. Now he was the last. The last human being alive on Earth. Marcus closed his eyes and remembered better days. He remembered blue skies without alien ships. He remembered cities full of people laughing and living their lives. He remembered when humans ruled their own planet. That was 50 years ago, before the Zephyrians came. The reptilian aliens had arrived in massive ships that blocked out the sun. They said they came in peace, but peace meant something different to them. Peace meant no more humans fighting back. Peace meant letting them take whatever they wanted from Earth. At first, people tried to negotiate. World leaders offered trade deals and sharing agreements. The Zephyrians smiled with their sharp teeth and agreed to everything. Then they started hunting. They hunted humans like animals. Not for food, but for sport. Sometimes they would capture entire cities and make the people fight each other for alien entertainment. Other times they would simply burn everything and watch the flames from their ships. Marcus had been a soldier then. Lieutenant Marcus Kane of the United States Marine Corps. He fought in the last great battle at Chicago. 2 million human soldiers against 500,000 alien warriors. The humans lost in 3 hours. After Chicago fell, the organized resistance crumbled. Small groups of survivors hid in caves, sewers, and bunkers like this one. But the Zephyrians were patient hunters. They found every hiding place eventually. They had technology that could see through rock and metal. They had weapons that could melt steel. They had time. One by one, the hiding places went silent. Marcus forced his eyes open and looked at the computer screen beside his bed. Green numbers counted down the hours of power left in the bunker's battery. 47 hours. When the power died, the air recyclers would stop working. Not that it mattered now. He reached for the small metal device on the table next to him. It looked like an old radio, but Marcus knew better. Dr. Sarah Kim had given it to him before she died last winter. She had been one of the scientists who worked on the secret projects during the war. Projects that most people never knew existed. When the last person dies, she had whispered with her final breath, "Activate the beacon. Press the red button and hold it for 10 seconds. Promise me." Marcus had promised. He kept all his promises. His finger found the red button. It felt cold against his skin. For a moment, he hesitated. What if the beacon called the Zephyrians instead of whatever Sarah thought it would call? What if pressing it just told the aliens where to find this last bunker? But then Marcus thought about all the people he had known. His wife Jennifer, killed in the bombing of Los Angeles. His son Peter, who died fighting in the sewers of New York. His grandchildren, who never got the chance to grow up and have children of their own. Someone had to remember them. Someone had to make the aliens pay. Marcus pressed the button and held it down. The device grew warm in his hand. After 10 seconds, it made a soft beeping sound and went dark. Whatever signal it sent was now traveling through the earth, looking for something or someone to receive it. The old Marine lay back on his pillow and smiled. He had done his duty. Whatever happened next was out of his hands. His breathing grew slower. The pain in his chest faded away. Marcus Kane thought about Jennifer's smile and let himself go. High above the bunker, Zephyrian patrol ships flew through the night sky. Their sensors detected the small energy spike from the beacon, but the computer systems marked it as unimportant. Probably just another human machine breaking down. The aliens had seen thousands of such signals over the years as human technology slowly died. They were wrong. Deep beneath the surface of the Earth, in 12 locations scattered across 6 continents, ancient machines that had slept for 300 years began to wake up. These machines had been waiting for this exact signal. They had been built by the smartest humans who ever lived, designed for the darkest day in human history. The day when the last natural human died. In a cave system beneath the Colorado mountains, frost began to melt from a metal door that had not opened since 2089. Inside the cave, rows of glass containers filled with blue liquid started to glow. Things that looked like sleeping people floated inside the containers, but they were not quite people anymore. They were something more. Similar scenes played out in hidden facilities around the world. Under the Australian desert, beneath the frozen wasteland of Siberia, in deep caves under the Sahara, in flooded tunnels below the Amazon rainforest, and in 7 other secret locations. The Zephyrians had won the war against humanity. They had killed every man, woman, and child they could find. They had burned the cities and poisoned the rivers. They had taken everything they wanted from the dead planet. But the humans who built these facilities had planned for this day. They knew that normal people could not win against the aliens. So they had created something that was not normal. Something that could fight back when fighting back seemed impossible. The beacon had done its job. The message was sent and received. Now the real war could begin. Marcus Kane died believing he was the last human on Earth. In a way, he was right. The things that were waking up in those hidden caves were human, but they were also something else. Something the Zephyrians had never seen before and were not prepared to fight. Something that would make them wish they had never heard of a small blue planet called Earth. Ake Morrison felt cold liquid draining away from his body. His eyes opened for the first time in 300 years. Blue light filled his vision as the glass container around him began to open with a soft hissing sound. He tried to move his arms and found they responded perfectly. His muscles felt strong, stronger than he remembered. His mind was clear and sharp. Information flowed into his consciousness like water into a dry riverbed. The year was 2387. The beacon had been activated. The last natural human was dead. It was time to wake up. Jake stepped out of the cryopod onto a metal floor. The cave around him was carved from solid rock, reinforced with steel beams and concrete. Rows of other pods lined the walls, but most were dark and empty. Only 12 had ever been used in this facility. Only 12 people had volunteered for Project Genesis. Jake walked to a wall panel and placed his hand on it. The surface scanned his palm and beeped softly. Lights came on throughout the cave, revealing equipment and supplies that had waited centuries for this moment. Computer screens flickered to life, showing status reports and data streams. Facility Alpha Online, a calm female voice announced. Genesis Warrior designation, Morrison, Jake. Welcome back, Lieutenant Colonel. The memories came flooding back then. Jake remembered the laboratory where they had changed him. He remembered the months of tests and experiments. He remembered volunteering to become something that was no longer entirely human. The year had been 2089. The war with the Zephyrians was going badly. Human weapons barely scratched alien armor. Human soldiers moved too slowly to avoid alien energy beams. Conventional military forces were losing every major battle. But human scientists had been studying captured alien technology. They had learned things about genetics and enhancement that normal medical ethics would never have allowed them to explore. When the situation became desperate enough, those ethics became a luxury humanity could not afford. Project Genesis took the best soldiers from every branch of the military and asked them a simple question: would they give up their humanity to save the human race? 12 people said yes. The process had been agony. Jake remembered weeks of genetic modification, cellular enhancement, and neural reconstruction. The scientists had taken DNA from captured Zephyrians and somehow made it compatible with human biology. They had rebuilt his body from the inside out. When it was finished, Jake could lift a car over his head. His reflexes were 10 times faster than a normal human. His mind could process tactical information and predict enemy movements with computer-like precision. But the best part was what they could not measure in a laboratory. Jake felt no fear, no doubt, no hesitation. He was a weapon designed for one purpose: killing aliens who thought they owned his planet. Jake accessed the facility's communication system and sent out a coded signal. Within minutes, responses came back from around the world. Other facilities were coming online. Other Genesis warriors were waking up. Facility Beta operational, came a voice from Australia. Captain Lisa Brooks reporting. Facility Gamma online, said another voice with a slight accent. Sergeant Major Tony Garcia here. More voices joined the network. Alex and Maya Foster from the Sahara facility, speaking in perfect unison the way they always had. Rick Stone from the Amazon, his voice calm and steady. Others from hidden bases in Antarctica, the Pacific, and deep beneath what had once been major cities. 8 voices total. For Genesis warriors had died in their pods over the centuries, their bodies unable to handle the long sleep. But 8 was enough. 8 enhanced humans could do what millions of normal soldiers had failed to accomplish. Jake began reviewing the tactical data that the facility's sensors had gathered over the past 50 years. The Zephyrians had 13 major bases on Earth. Their total force strength was approximately 2 million soldiers. They were strip mining the planet for something called quintessium, a rare mineral that powered their faster-than-light engines. The aliens thought they were safe. They had killed every human they could find. Their own forces were spread thin across the planet, focused on resource extraction rather than defense. They were not expecting any resistance. That was about to change. All units, this is Morrison, Jake said into the comm system. Report your status. Brooks here. All systems green. Electromagnetic capabilities fully functional. I can feel every electronic device for miles around. Garcia reporting. Healing factor is active. Speed enhancement operational. Ready for action. Foster twins checking in, came the synchronized voices. Telepathic link is strong. We can coordinate perfectly. Stone here. Light refraction systems working. I can bend photons around my body. Invisible and deadly. Right online. Biotech interface functioning. I can communicate with any computer system by touch. Each Genesis warrior had received different enhancements based on their psychological profiles and natural abilities. Jake's precognitive tactical analysis let him see battle outcomes before they happened. Brooks could manipulate electromagnetic fields to disable technology or create defensive barriers. Garcia could heal from almost any wound and move faster than human eyes could track. The Foster twins shared a telepathic connection that made them perfect for coordinated operations. Stone could become effectively invisible by bending light around his body. Wright could interface directly with computer systems, making her the ultimate hacker. Together, they were designed to be unstoppable. Listen up, Jake said to his team. The Zephyrians have had 50 years to get comfortable on our planet. They think they won. They think the war is over. Time to show them how wrong they are. Jake began uploading tactical data to all the facilities. Maps of alien bases, patrol routes, resource convoys. The Genesis warriors had been asleep, but their facilities had been watching and recording everything. We start with reconnaissance, Jake continued. Each team needs to assess local alien strength and identify high-value targets. No direct confrontation until we understand what we're facing. But remember, we're not here to hide or survive. We're here to take our planet back. What about the fact that we're outnumbered 250,000 to 1? Brooks asked. Jake smiled, though none of the others could see it. They're not outnumbered. We are. But we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to win the only fight that matters. He pulled up a global map showing all the alien installations. Red dots marked enemy positions. Blue dots showed the locations of Genesis warrior facilities. The red dots outnumbered the blue ones by an enormous margin. But each blue dot represented something the Zephyrians had never faced before. Each blue dot was a weapon that had been specifically designed to kill them. Each blue dot was a human being who had volunteered to give up everything to save their species. Phase 1 begins now, Jake announced. Time to remind these aliens that they never actually won this war. They just thought they did. Around the world, 8 Genesis warriors began to move. They emerged from caves and bunkers that had hidden them for 3 centuries. They breathed surface air for the first time in longer than most civilizations lasted. The Zephyrians had no idea what was coming for them. But they were about to learn that killing the last human on Earth had been a very big mistake. Jake Morrison crouched behind a broken concrete wall and watched the Zephyrian patrol march past. 3 alien soldiers in gleaming armor walked down what had once been Main Street in a small Colorado town. Their weapons hummed with energy, ready to fire at anything that moved. They had no idea an enhanced human was watching them from 30 feet away. Jake counted their steps and timed their patrol route. Every 23 minutes, the same 3 aliens walked the same path through the ruins. They were bored and careless. 50 years of hunting humans who could not fight back had made them lazy. That was good information to have. Jake activated his comm system and spoke quietly. Morrison to all units. I'm seeing standard patrol patterns here. 3 soldier teams, energy weapons, basic armor. They're not expecting trouble. Brooks here, came Lisa's voice from Australia. Same thing on my end. Found a mining operation with maybe 50 aliens total. They've got some kind of drilling equipment pulling metal out of the ground. Garcia reporting from Siberia, said Tony's voice. There's a transport hub here. Alien ships coming and going every few hours. Looks like they're moving the metal they mined to somewhere else. Jake made notes as each Genesis warrior reported in. The Zephyrians had turned Earth into a giant mining operation. They were taking quintessium from deep underground and shipping it off-world. The metal was apparently rare and valuable, worth conquering an entire planet to obtain. Foster twins checking in, came the synchronized voices of Alex and Maya. We found something interesting in the Sahara. There's a facility here that's not just mining. They're doing some kind of research. What kind of research? Jake asked. Unknown. But there are a lot more aliens here than at the other sites. And the security is much tighter. This place is important to them. Jake processed this information along with everything else his team had gathered over the past week. Since awakening, each Genesis warrior had been conducting careful reconnaissance of their local area. They moved only at night, stayed hidden during the day, and avoided any contact with alien forces. The picture they were building was both encouraging and frightening. Encouraging because the Zephyrians were clearly not prepared for any kind of resistance. Their forces were spread thin across the planet, focused on resource extraction rather than defense. Frightening because there were so many of them. Stone here, came Rick's voice from the Amazon. I've been watching this command post for 3 days. I think I know how their communication system works. Jake perked up. Explain. They've got these tower things that send signals to each other. Looks like a network that covers the whole planet. But here's the interesting part, I don't think they're using it just for talking to each other. What else? I think they're using it to coordinate everything. Mining operations, patrol schedules, supply shipments. Everything goes through the network. If we could get into that system. Right here, interrupted Kelly's voice. I've been thinking the same thing. If I could get close enough to one of their communication nodes, I might be able to interface with it directly. Jake considered this. Kelly writes biotech enhancement allowed her to connect with computer systems by touching them. In theory, she could hack into alien technology the same way she could hack into human computers. But it would require getting very close to heavily guarded alien equipment. Too risky for now, Jake decided. We need more information before we try anything that aggressive. Morrison, came Lisa's voice, I've got something else. The mining equipment here is definitely extracting quintessium, but I don't think that's the only reason they're here. Explain. The amount of metal they're taking doesn't match the size of their operation. They've got enough infrastructure here to mine 10 times as much quintessium as they're actually pulling out of the ground. It's like they're intentionally going slow. Jake frowned. Why would they do that? Maybe they're planning to stay for a long time, suggested Tony. Like, permanently. The implications of that hit Jake like a physical blow. If the Zephyrians were planning to permanently occupy Earth, It meant they weren't just here for the quintessium. They were here to colonize the planet. Which meant killing all the humans hadn't been about ending resistance. It had been about clearing the land for new residents. All units, listen carefully, Jake said. We need to accelerate our timeline. If they're planning to colonize Earth, that changes everything. What do you want to do? Asked Lisa. Jake looked at the tactical data scrolling across his enhanced vision. 13 major alien installations. 2 million enemy soldiers. Unknown but significant orbital assets. The Genesis warriors were outnumbered by a factor that made victory seem mathematically impossible. But mathematics didn't account for everything. Mathematics didn't account for the fact that humans had spent 300 years designing the perfect alien killing machines. Mathematics didn't account for the element of surprise. And mathematics definitely didn't account for the simple fact that this was humanity's home, and they were not giving it up without a fight. We're going to hit them, Jake announced. Hard and fast, before they know what's happening. All of them? Asked Alex and Maya in unison. No. We pick one target and hit it with everything we've got. Make them think we're a much larger force than we actually are. Get them scared and confused. Which target? Asked Rick. Jake studied the tactical map one more time. The mining operations were tempting targets, but destroying them wouldn't accomplish much beyond slowing down resource extraction. The communication hubs were critical infrastructure, but they were probably too well defended for a first strike. But there was one type of target that would send exactly the message Jake wanted to send. There's a prison facility in Nevada, Jake said. According to our sensor data, they're holding about 300 humans there. The comm channel went silent for a moment. 300 humans, whispered Kelly. Still alive? Apparently. Probably keeping them for entertainment purposes, based on what we know about Zephyrian culture. Jake had studied alien psychology extensively during his original training. The Zephyrians were predators who enjoyed dominating other species. They would keep human prisoners as long as those prisoners could provide sport or amusement. Which meant those 300 people had been suffering for years, maybe decades. We're going to free them, Jake announced. All 8 of us, coordinated strike, maximum violence. Show the aliens that humans are still alive and still fighting. That's going to blow our cover, warned Tony. Once we hit them, they'll know we exist. Good, Jake said. I want them to know we exist. I want them to be afraid every time they go on patrol. I want them to check every shadow and jump at every sound. Jake began uploading detailed tactical plans to all the Genesis warrior facilities. The mission would require perfect timing and coordination. They would have one chance to get it right. Listen up, people, Jake said. 50 years ago, the Zephyrians thought they won this war. Tomorrow night, we start teaching them the difference between winning a battle and winning a war. Around the world, 8 enhanced humans began to prepare for the fight of their lives. They checked their equipment, reviewed their targets, and mentally prepared themselves for what was coming. The aliens had ruled Earth unopposed for half a century. They had grown comfortable and complacent. They had forgotten that this planet had once been defended by creatures who never gave up, never surrendered, and never forgot their fallen. Tomorrow night, they were going to remember. The Nevada prison facility sat in a desert valley surrounded by high walls and guard towers. Searchlights swept back and forth across the sandy ground. Zephyrian guards walked patrol routes that had not changed in 10 years. Jake Morrison lay on a ridge half a mile away, watching through enhanced vision that could see every detail in perfect clarity. Behind him, 7 other Genesis warriors waited in the darkness. Target assessment complete, Jake whispered into his comm, 42 guards visible, probably 20 more inside the main building. Energy barriers around the perimeter. Automated defense systems on the towers. Electromagnetic signature analysis complete, reported Lisa Brooks. I can disable their power grid and defense systems on your signal. Give me 30 seconds and this place goes dark. Thermal imaging shows prisoner locations, added the Foster twins. 300 humans, just like the intel said. They're being held in the central building, probably underground. Jake checked his tactical display one more time. Everything was in position. Each Genesis warrior had a specific role to play in the next few minutes. If they executed the plan perfectly, they would free the prisoners and escape before the aliens knew what hit them. If they made any mistakes, they would all die in the desert. All units, final weapons check, Jake ordered. Each warrior confirmed their gear. They carried weapons that had been designed specifically for fighting Zephyrians. Energy rifles that fired concentrated plasma bolts. Explosive charges that could punch through alien armor. Close combat weapons made from materials that could cut through anything the aliens had. But their most important weapons were the abilities that the Genesis project had given them. Enhanced strength, speed, and reflexes that made them faster and stronger than any normal human could ever be. Garcia, how's your healing factor? Jake asked. Running at full efficiency, Tony replied. I can take a direct hit from their energy weapons and keep fighting. Stone, invisibility status. Light refraction is perfect, Rick answered. I can get right up to their guards without being seen. Right, are you ready to interface with their systems? Kelly Wright placed her palm against the alien communication console and felt electricity flow through her enhanced nervous system. Data streams rushed into her consciousness like rivers of light. For a moment, the sensation was overwhelming. Then her biotech implants adapted, and the alien computer network opened up to her like a book. She was inside the Zephyrian Planetary Communication Hub in Antarctica. Getting here had taken 3 days of careful infiltration through ice caves and abandoned research stations. But now she had direct access to every piece of information flowing through the alien command structure. What she found made her blood freeze. Morrison, you need to hear this, Kelly whispered into her comm unit. I'm inside their network. They're not just mining quintessium. They're planning to crack the planet open. Jake's voice came back immediately. Explain. Kelly absorbed more data, her enhanced mind processing alien technical specifications at superhuman speed. They're drilling down to Earth's core. The quintessium isn't just in the crust. There's a massive deposit surrounding the planet's molten center. They want to extract it all. How much are we talking about? Enough to power their entire empire for 1,000 years. But Jake, if they take that much material out of the core, it will destabilize the planet's magnetic field. Earth will become uninhabitable. The atmosphere will burn away. Silence on the comm channel as the implications sank in. Timeline? Jake asked. Kelly dug deeper into the alien files. Technical reports, mining schedules, resource allocation charts. 18 months. Maybe less if they accelerate the project. Copy that. Continue your mission. Gather everything you can about their network architecture. Kelly forced herself to focus on the immediate task while part of her mind reeled from what she had discovered. The Zephyrians weren't just occupying Earth. They were planning to destroy it completely. She began mapping the alien communication system. Every message, every data stream, every command signal flowed through 13 major hubs like this one. The network connected mining operations, military bases, orbital platforms, and command centers across the entire planet. But networks had weaknesses. And Kelly was very good at finding weaknesses. 2,000 miles away, Jake Morrison crouched in the ruins of New York City and watched Zephyrian forces mobilizing. Ever since the prison break in Nevada, the aliens had tripled their security and begun random sweeps of areas they had previously ignored. They were scared. Good. Brooks, status report, Jake said into his comm. In position outside the primary command center, Lisa replied from a rooftop half a mile away. I count at least 200 guards around this facility. They're taking our existence seriously now. Garcia? Pacific mining platform is heavily defended, Tony reported from his position on a stolen alien aircraft. But I can see their main drill operation. It goes down further than I thought possible. Foster twins? We're monitoring the research facility in the Sahara, came Alex and Maya's synchronized voices. They've got something big happening here. Lots of alien scientists working on projects we can't identify from this distance. Jake studied the tactical information flowing across his enhanced vision. The mission had 3 primary objectives: destroy the command center in New York, sabotage the main drilling operation in the Pacific, and infiltrate the research facility to discover what the aliens were really working on. Each objective would require splitting their forces dangerously thin. But Kelly's intelligence about the planet-cracking operation meant they could not afford to waste time on smaller targets. Stone, you're with me on the command center, Jake decided. Brooks provides electromagnetic support from range. Garcia hits the drilling platform solo. Foster twins take the research facility. Wright continues intelligence gathering and network disruption. Confirmed, came the replies from around the world. Jake checked his weapons one more time. The New York command center was the most heavily defended target they had ever attempted. If the aliens were going to make a stand anywhere, it would be here. But that was exactly why they had to hit it. The Genesis warriors needed to prove that no alien position was safe, no matter how many guards protected it. All units, execute in 60 seconds, Jake announced. In Antarctica, Kelly Wright sent a massive data pulse through the alien network. Every computer system in the New York command center suddenly began displaying error messages and false alarms. Security cameras showed empty corridors instead of actual guard positions. Automated defenses turned off and on randomly. Network chaos initiated, Kelly reported. Their communication system is completely confused. Jake and Rick moved toward the command center as every alien in the building tried to figure out why their computers had gone insane. The guards at the main entrance were looking at handheld devices that showed contradictory information about perimeter security. Rick activated his light refraction ability and became invisible. He moved past the confused guards and began disabling internal security systems. Jake followed, his tactical precognition allowing him to predict exactly where each alien would look and move to avoid being seen. Meanwhile, Lisa Brooks stood on her distant rooftop and used her electromagnetic abilities to interfere with every piece of alien technology in the area. Radio communications became static. Weapon targeting systems locked onto empty air. Even the lights in the building began flickering unpredictably. 3,000 miles away, Tony Garcia dove his stolen aircraft directly at the Pacific drilling platform. The aliens saw him coming and opened fire with every weapon they had. Energy beams filled the sky around the small ship. Tony ejected at the last second, letting the aircraft slam into the platform's main power generator while he fell toward the ocean. His enhanced body could survive impacts that would kill normal humans. He hit the water at terminal velocity, sank to the bottom, then swam back up to the platform. The aliens thought he was dead. They were wrong. Tony climbed onto the drilling platform and began systematically destroying critical equipment. His healing factor let him ignore the energy weapons that the guards fired at him. His enhanced speed made him nearly impossible to target accurately. Within minutes, the massive drill that had been boring toward Earth's core ground to a halt. In the Sahara Desert, Alex and Maya Foster used their telepathic link to coordinate a perfect infiltration of the research facility. They moved through the building like ghosts, each always knowing exactly where the other was and what they were seeing. What they discovered in the alien laboratories was even worse than the planet-cracking operation. Morrison, Alex whispered into his comm, "You need to know what they're researching here." Report. "They're developing a virus," Maya continued. "Something that targets human DNA specifically. They want to make sure no humans survive when they crack the planet," Alex added. "Even if some people were in space or on other worlds, this virus would kill them." Jake felt cold rage building in his chest as he fought through the New York command center. The aliens were not content with destroying Earth. They wanted to wipe out the entire human species, everywhere in the galaxy. "Download everything," Jake ordered. "We need complete information about that virus." "Already on it," the twins replied in unison. Jake reached the central command room and found what he was looking for, the main computer terminal that controlled Zephyrian operations across the entire planet. If Kelly could interface with this system, she could take control of their entire network. "Right, I'm at the primary node," Jake announced. "Ready for you to take control." "Connecting now," Kelly replied from Antarctica. Across the planet, the Zephyrian communication network suddenly belonged to the Genesis warriors. Every message, every order, every piece of data now flowed through systems that Kelly Wright controlled. The aliens had built their entire occupation around centralized command and control. That had made them efficient at coordinating large-scale operations. It had also given the humans a single point of failure that could bring down their entire empire. Network control established, Kelly announced. I now have access to everything. Troop movements, supply schedules, orbital platforms, off-world communications. Everything. Jake smiled as he fought his way back out of the command center. The Genesis warriors had just taken control of the most powerful communications system on the planet. Now the real war could begin. Commander Vextar stood in the center of his flagship's command bridge and stared at the tactical display showing Earth. Red warning indicators covered every continent. Communication blackouts plagued major facilities. Resource extraction had stopped at 12 of 13 primary sites. And somewhere on that blue planet, an unknown number of enhanced humans were systematically destroying everything the Zephyrian Empire had built. Status report, Vextar hissed through his sharp teeth. Sir, we have confirmed attacks on 17 facilities in the past 72 hours, reported his aide, a younger Zephyrian whose scales had not yet darkened with age. The enemy appears to have complete control of our planetary communication network. Vextar's claws scraped against the metal console. 50 years ago, his forces had conquered Earth in less than 6 months. The humans had fought bravely but uselessly with their primitive weapons and slow reflexes. Victory had been inevitable. These new humans were different. They moved faster than Zephyrian soldiers. They ignored weapons that should have killed them instantly. They appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking where they were least expected. What do we know about their capabilities? Vextar asked. Analysis of battle recordings suggests genetic enhancement far beyond anything we encountered during the original conquest, the aide replied. Enhanced strength, speed, regenerative abilities, and electromagnetic manipulation have all been observed. How many of them are there? Unknown, sir. Our best estimate based on attack patterns suggests between 8 and 12 individuals. Vextar's eyes widened. Less than a dozen enemies had brought the occupation of an entire planet to a standstill. It should have been impossible. Deploy the war suits, Vextar ordered. And release the hunters. The aide's scales paled slightly. Sir, the hunters have never been used on a planetary surface before. The ecological damage could be significant. I do not care about ecological damage, Vextar snarled. I care about eliminating these enhanced humans before they inspire others to resist. On Earth, Jake Morrison felt the change in alien behavior before he saw it. His tactical precognition had been warning him for hours that something was different. The Zephyrian forces were moving with new urgency and coordination. Then the first warsuit appeared over the ruins of Chicago. Jake watched from 10 miles away as the massive mechanical construct descended from orbit. It was 300 feet tall, covered in armor that seemed to absorb energy attacks, and armed with weapons that could level city blocks. All units, we have a new threat, Jake announced into his comm. The aliens just deployed some kind of giant robot over Chicago. I see similar contacts over Los Angeles and Miami, reported Lisa Brooks. These things are huge. And there's something else, added Tony Garcia from the Pacific. I'm seeing movement in the water. Big shapes heading for all the major coastlines. Kelly Wright's voice came through the network with tension Jake had never heard from her before. I'm monitoring alien communications. They've released something called Hunters into Earth's oceans. The computer files I can access just call them biological assets. Jake enhanced his vision and studied the warsuit in the distance. It was moving slowly but systematically through the ruins of Chicago, using deep penetrating scanners to search for human life signs. Every few minutes, it would fire energy beams into areas where the sensors detected movement. The aliens were no longer just defending their facilities. They were actively hunting the Genesis warriors. We need to regroup, Jake decided. Fall back to designated rally point Alpha. We're going to need a new strategy. But before any of the Genesis warriors could move, the hunters emerged from the ocean. Jake watched in horror as creatures the size of blue whales pulled themselves onto the beaches near what had once been San Francisco. They moved on 6 massive legs and had heads that seemed to be all teeth and sensors. Their skin rippled with colors that hurt to look at directly. "What are those things?" whispered Rick Stone. "Bioengineered predators," Kelly replied, her voice tight with fear. According to the alien files, they were designed to hunt specific genetic signatures. The Zephyrians have been programming them to target enhanced human DNA. One of the hunters lifted its head and let out a sound that was part roar and part electronic screech. Jake felt the noise in his bones, even from hundreds of miles away. Then the creature began moving inland with shocking speed for something so large. "They can track us," Maya Foster said. "Wherever we go, they'll find us," Alex added. Jake's mind raced through tactical options. The Genesis warriors had been successful because they could choose when and where to fight. They could strike fast and disappear before the aliens could respond effectively. But the hunters changed everything. These creatures could follow their genetic signatures anywhere on the planet. There would be no more hiding, no more surprise attacks. The Genesis warriors would have to stand and fight. "All units, converge on Chicago," Jake ordered. "If they want to hunt us, let's give them targets they won't forget." "Jake, that's suicide," Lisa protested. "There's a war suit there, and probably hunters on the way." "Exactly. We take out their biggest assets in one concentrated assault. Show them that sending hunters just means losing hunters." Jake began moving toward Chicago, his enhanced body covering miles with every hour. Behind him, he could see the massive hunter that had emerged from Lake Michigan. The creature was following his trail with the persistence of a bloodhound. "Good. Let it come." The other Genesis warriors began converging on the ruined city. Each of them was being pursued by hunters, war suits, or both. The aliens had finally decided to commit their most powerful assets to eliminating the enhanced humans. But they had made a critical mistake. They had forced the Genesis warriors to work together in the same location instead of spreading them across the planet. 8 enhanced humans in the same place at the same time was something the Zephyrians had never faced before. Danny Cole was the first to reach the Chicago ruins. The young soldier had enhanced reflexes and tactical analysis abilities that made him perfect for reconnaissance work. He scouted the area around the warsuit and began identifying weak points in its armor. But the hunters were faster than expected. Danny was setting up observation equipment when the first creature found him. The beast was the size of a building and moved with the fluid grace of a cat. Its sensory organs locked onto his genetic signature from 3 miles away. Danny ran. His enhanced speed let him stay ahead of the hunter for almost 10 minutes. He led it through the ruins of downtown Chicago, using collapsed buildings and debris fields to slow its advance. But the creature was relentless. It smashed through obstacles that would have stopped a tank. Its 6 legs carried it over terrain that should have been impassable. Danny reached the warsuit's position and saw his opportunity. The massive mechanical construct was scanning for human life signs with powerful sensors. If he could get the hunter and the warsuit close enough together. Danny sprinted directly at the warsuit, the hunter following close behind. At the last second, he dove to the side and activated every piece of electronic equipment he carried. The warsuit's sensors detected him immediately and fired every weapon it had. Massive energy beams meant to vaporize a human struck the hunter instead. The creature screamed and turned on the warsuit. Biological predator and mechanical destroyer began fighting each other while Danny rolled behind a pile of concrete rubble. But the effort had cost him. Energy from the warsuit's near miss had damaged his enhanced nervous system. His reflexes were failing, his tactical analysis was becoming confused. Danny looked up and saw 3 more hunters approaching from different directions. The Zephyrians had learned from his trick and were not going to let him turn their assets against each other again. "Morrison," Danny said into his comm, his voice calm despite the approaching death. "I've got 4 hunters and a warsuit converging on my position. I don't think I'm getting out of this one." "Hold position, Cole. We're almost there." "Negative. They'll be expecting you. I'm going to take out as many as I can and clear you a path." Danny pulled the thermal charges from his equipment pack. Each one was designed to destroy alien mining equipment. Together, they might be enough to damage a hunter's sensory organs. Or they might just make a very big explosion. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Danny said. Then he activated every charge at once and threw himself at the nearest hunter. The explosion lit up the Chicago skyline like a second sun. When the light faded, one hunter was dead and the warsuit was severely damaged. But Danny Cole, the young soldier who had volunteered to give up his humanity to save his species, was gone. 7 Genesis warriors remained. And the real battle was just beginning. Kelly Wright's fingers danced across alien control surfaces as data streams flowed through her enhanced nervous system. Deep in the Antarctic communication facility, she had been working for 18 hours straight to crack the Zephyrian quantum communication network. Danny Cole's sacrifice had bought them time, but not much. More warsuits were being deployed from orbit, and the remaining hunters were converging on the Genesis warriors' positions around the globe. But Kelly had found something in the alien network that changed everything. "Morrison, I've got their home world location," Kelly announced into her comm, "Zirian Prime, 400 light-years from Earth. More importantly, I've got the quantum communication protocols they use to coordinate with their empire." Jake's voice came back immediately. He was somewhere in the ruins of Chicago, playing a deadly game of hide-and-seek with 2 remaining hunters. "Can you disrupt their communications?" "Better than that. I can turn their own network against them." "But Jake, there's something else. The planet-cracking operation is accelerating. They're going to start the final extraction in 72 hours. That's not enough time to evacuate the prisoners or set up proper defenses." "No, it's not. Which is why I think we need to take this fight to them." Silence on the comm channel as Jake processed what Kelly was suggesting. "You want us to attack their home world?" "Not attack. Send a message. If we can hit Zirian Prime, prove that Earth can strike back across interstellar distances, it might force them to reconsider the planet-cracking operation." Jake's tactical mind immediately began analyzing the proposal. "What would we need?" "A Zephyrian command ship. Something with quantum engines and long-range communication equipment. There's one at the orbital platform above North America. If we could capture it." "That's a suicide mission, right? The orbital platforms have thousands of defenders." "Not if we coordinate it with simultaneous strikes on all quintessium facilities on Earth. While they're dealing with multiple ground attacks, a small team might be able to reach the command ship." Jake looked at the tactical situation developing around him. 3 hunters were closing in on his position, guided by sensors that could track his enhanced DNA from miles away. In 6 hours, they would all converge on his location and the hiding places would run out. The Genesis warriors were out of time and out of options. A desperate gambit might be their only chance. "All units, converge on coordinates I'm sending you," Jake decided. "We're going to try something that's either brilliant or insane." "Probably both," muttered Lisa Brooks as she began moving toward the rendezvous point. 2 hours later, 7 Genesis warriors met in an abandoned subway tunnel beneath the ruins of Detroit. The tunnel was deep enough to mask their heat signatures from the hunters circling overhead, but it would not hide them for long. Jake outlined the plan quickly. "Kelly's right about the timing. If we don't act now, the planet dies in 3 days regardless of what we do. So we're going to split into 2 teams." He activated a holographic display showing Earth and the orbital platforms above it. Team Alpha, Brooks, Garcia, and the Foster twins hit every quintessium facility simultaneously. Maximum destruction, maximum chaos. Make the aliens think we're trying to stop the planet-cracking operation. While they're distracted by the ground attacks, Team Beta takes a Zephyrian command ship and heads for Zirian Prime, added Kelly. "Stone, Wright, and Morrison. Our job is to hit their home world hard enough to make them reconsider." "That's only 6 people, pointed out Tony Garcia. "What about the 7th team member?" "I'm staying on Earth," Lisa Brooks said quietly. "Someone needs to coordinate the ground attacks and provide electromagnetic support. Plus, my abilities are most effective when I'm connected to planetary electrical systems." Jake studied the faces of his team. These people had volunteered to give up their humanity to save their species. They had already sacrificed everything that normal humans valued. Now they were being asked to risk even more. Anyone who wants to back out, speak now, Jake said. This plan has maybe a 10% chance of success. Those are better odds than we had when we started, replied Maya Foster. Besides, added Alex, humans have always been good at doing impossible things. Jake smiled. Even genetically enhanced and 300 years out of their own time, these people were still fundamentally human. They still refused to give up when the situation looked hopeless. All right. We execute in 12 hours. That gives us time to reach our starting positions and for Kelly to finish preparing the quantum communication hack. The Genesis warriors separated for what might be the last time. Team Alpha began moving toward the Quintessium facilities scattered across the planet. Team Beta headed for the launch facility in Florida where they could steal a ship capable of reaching orbit. Kelly Wright worked frantically to complete her preparations. Hacking into an alien quantum communication network was far more complex than interfacing with their standard computer systems. She had to understand not just their technology, but the theoretical physics behind faster-than-light communication. Her enhanced mind processed equations and data structures that would have taken normal human scientists decades to comprehend. The Genesis project had given her more than just the ability to interface with computers. It had enhanced her intelligence to superhuman levels. But even superhuman intelligence had limits, and Kelly was pushing hers to the breaking point. Quantum protocols mapped, she finally announced. I can piggyback our message onto their command network. Every Zephyrian facility in the galaxy will receive it simultaneously. What kind of message? Asked Jake. Whatever you want to tell them when you reach Zirion Prime. Surrender demands, threats, proof that humans are still alive and fighting. The quantum network will carry it instantly across 400 light-years. Jake, Rick, and Kelly reached the Florida launch facility as the first explosions lit up the horizon. Team Alpha had begun their coordinated assault on the Quintessium extraction sites. Every major mining operation on the planet was under attack simultaneously. The Zephyrian response was exactly what they had hoped for. Orbital platforms began launching ships to defend the ground facilities. The space around Earth filled with alien aircraft racing to respond to the crisis below. Now, Jake whispered. The three Genesis warriors moved through the launch facility like ghosts. Rick's invisibility ability got them past external guards. Kelly's computer interface skills disabled internal security systems. Jake's tactical precognition guided them through patrols and sensor sweeps. The Zephyrian command ship they were targeting sat in the center of the facility like a metallic mountain. It was 3 times the size of any human vessel ever built, powered by quantum engines that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of centuries. Getting aboard was surprisingly easy. The aliens had never imagined that humans could infiltrate their most secure facilities. Flying the ship was harder. Their control systems are completely different from anything humans ever built, Kelly said as she interfaced with the ship's computer core. I can make it work, but it's going to take all my concentration just to keep us in the air. Can you handle the quantum communication hack at the same time? Jake asked. Not while flying. Once we reach Zirion Prime, I'll need at least 10 minutes to set up the broadcast. Then we better make sure we have 10 minutes, Rick said grimly. The stolen command ship lifted off from Earth as the planet burned behind them. Quintessium facilities exploded across every continent. Alien forces scrambled to respond to attacks that seemed to be everywhere at once. By the time the Zephyrians realized that one of their command ships was missing, it was already beyond the orbit of Mars and accelerating toward the edge of the solar system. The quantum engines engaged with a sound like reality tearing. Space twisted around the ship as it entered faster-than-light travel. 3 enhanced humans were about to carry the war to the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. And back on Earth, 4 Genesis warriors continued their desperate fight to buy time for a plan that might save their species or might simply ensure that they all died together. Either way, the Zephyrians were about to learn that destroying the last human had been the biggest mistake they ever made. Lisa Brooks stood on a mountain peak in Colorado and reached out with her electromagnetic abilities. She could feel every piece of alien technology across the entire planet. Mining equipment in Australia. Communication towers in Asia. Warsuits stomping through the ruins of major cities. Hunters prowling through forests and deserts, following genetic trails that led to empty hiding places. All of it connected by the network that Kelly Wright had given her control of. Tony, Maya, Alex, Lisa said into her comm, "Are you in position?" Garcia here. Pacific drilling platform is ready to blow. I've got enough explosives to crack this thing in half. Foster twins ready, came the synchronized voices from the Sahara. Research facility is locked down, but we've downloaded all their virus research. If anyone survives this, they'll know how to counter the biological weapon. Lisa closed her eyes and felt the flow of data through the alien network. The Zephyrians had no idea that their own communication system was being used against them. Every order they sent, every status report they received, passed through systems that Lisa controlled. She could see the bigger picture that no individual alien commander could perceive. Warsuits were being recalled from their hunting missions to defend Quintessium facilities. Orbital platforms were launching every available ship to provide air support. The entire occupation force was mobilizing to stop what they thought was humanity's last desperate attack. They were wrong about it being desperate. But they were right about it being humanity's last attack. Execute Phase 1, Lisa announced. Across the planet, the remaining Genesis warriors struck simultaneously. Tony Garcia detonated the charges he had placed throughout the Pacific drilling platform. The massive structure, which had been boring toward Earth's core for 50 years, broke apart and sank beneath the waves. Alex and Maya Foster fought their way through the Sahara Research Facility, destroying laboratories and computer cores that contained decades of work on anti-human biological weapons. They moved like dancers of death, their telepathic link allowing them to coordinate perfectly against overwhelming odds. Meanwhile, Lisa used her electromagnetic abilities to turn the alien network against itself. Security systems began targeting their own guards. Communication towers broadcast false orders. Mining equipment turned on the aliens operating it. But the Zephyrians were adapting faster than expected. "Brooks, we've got incoming," Tony reported from the sinking Pacific platform. "At least 50 aircraft heading my way." Foster twins under heavy assault, came Alex and Maya's voices. "They're throwing everything they have at us." Lisa could see it all through the network. Every alien ship on the planet was converging on the Genesis warrior positions. The Zephyrians had decided to sacrifice their mining operations to eliminate the enhanced humans once and for all. "Hold as long as you can," Lisa ordered. "Jake's team needs more time." 400 light-years away, Jake Morrison felt the stolen Zephyrian command ship drop out of quantum space. Through the viewports, he could see Zirian Prime, a world of red sand and gleaming metal cities, orbited by space stations the size of moons. The heart of an empire that had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved entire species. "Kelly, how long do you need?" Jake asked. 10 minutes to set up the quantum broadcast," Kelly replied, her hands already moving across alien control surfaces. "But Jake, look at those orbital defenses. We're not going to have 10 minutes. Rick Stone was studying the tactical display. "Thousands of ships out there. Probably millions of soldiers on the planet. And they definitely know we're here." As if to prove his point, energy beams began striking their stolen ship. Zephyrian patrol craft were closing in from every direction, their weapons already firing. "Get us to the planet's surface," Jake decided. "We'll broadcast from there." Kelly piloted the ship through a storm of energy fire toward the largest city on Zirian Prime. The command ship's shields deflected most of the incoming attacks, but they were failing rapidly under the concentrated assault. They crashed in the center of the Zephyrian capital, crushing alien buildings and scattering debris across several city blocks. Jake, Rick, and Kelly emerged from the wreckage to find themselves surrounded by thousands of enemy soldiers. "Set up the broadcast," Jake ordered. "Rick and I will buy you time." The two warriors moved like forces of nature through the alien ranks. Rick became invisible and struck from shadows, while Jake's tactical precognition let him predict and counter every enemy attack. But there were so many Zephyrians that individual skill could only accomplish so much. Kelly found a quantum communication node in the ruins of the crashed ship and began her desperate work. Data flowed through her enhanced nervous system as she accessed communication networks that spanned the galaxy. Back on Earth, Lisa Brooks felt the planet dying around her. The coordinated attacks had succeeded in destroying most of the quintessium extraction equipment, but it was too late. The damage to Earth's core had already begun the process that would destabilize the magnetic field. Tony Garcia was barely holding his position against overwhelming alien forces. His healing factor was working at maximum capacity, repairing damage faster than the Zephyrians could inflict it. But even enhanced biology had limits. Alex and Maya Foster had barricaded themselves in the ruins of the research facility. Their telepathic link was their greatest advantage and their greatest vulnerability. They could coordinate perfectly, but they also shared each other's pain and exhaustion. "Lisa," Tony gasped over the comm, "I don't think we're going to make it." "Yes, you are," Lisa replied firmly. "Jake's team is about to deliver our message. Hold for 2 more minutes." But even as she said it, Lisa could feel her own electromagnetic abilities reaching their limits. Controlling an entire planetary network while coordinating multiple battles was burning out her enhanced nervous system. On Zirian Prime, Kelly Wright's fingers flew across alien controls as enemy soldiers closed in around her position. Jake and Rick were fighting desperately to keep the Zephyrians away from the quantum communicator, but they were running out of ammunition and options. "Broadcast ready," Kelly announced. "Jake, whatever you want to say it now." Jake looked around at the alien capital burning around them. At Rick, who was bleeding from a dozen wounds but still fighting. At Kelly, whose enhanced mind was pushing itself beyond safe limits to maintain the quantum connection. At the testament to human refusal to surrender, even in the face of impossible odds. Jake activated the communicator and spoke to the entire Zephyrian Empire. "This is Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison of the Human Genesis Project. You thought you killed the last human 3 days ago. You were wrong. We are still here. We are still fighting. And we will never stop fighting." The quantum network carried his words to every Zephyrian facility in the galaxy. Millions of aliens heard the voice of a species they thought they had exterminated. "You came to our world as conquerors. You hunted our people like animals. You tried to break our planet apart for your engines. But you made one critical mistake. You underestimated what humans will do to protect their home." Jake paused as energy beams struck the ground around him. In the distance, he could see massive Zephyrian war machines approaching their position. "We are the Genesis warriors. We are what humanity becomes when you push us too far. We are 7 people who chose to give up everything human about ourselves to save our species. And we are not alone." Kelly's eyes widened as new data flowed through the quantum network. "Jake, I'm detecting something. Human signals, coming from outside the galaxy. Long-range sensors show human colonies throughout this galactic arm." Jake continued his broadcast. "Colonies that escaped Earth before your invasion. Colonies that have been growing and preparing for 300 years. They know what you did to their homeworld. And they are coming." It was a bluff based on sensor readings that might be anything. But Kelly's data suggested it might not be a bluff at all. "Leave Earth now, or face every human in the galaxy. We gave you a chance at peace. You chose war. Now you get to see why humans rule their own corner of the universe." The broadcast ended as Zephyrian forces overran their position. But the message had been sent across 400 light-years in an instant. On Earth, Lisa Brooks felt the alien network suddenly go silent. The Zephyrians were shutting down all communications, trying to prevent further human infiltration of their systems. But it was too late. The message had been delivered. Within hours, Zephyrian forces across Earth began receiving new orders. The planet-cracking operation was suspended. All military assets were to prepare for immediate evacuation. The aliens were leaving. Some of the Genesis warriors lived to see the evacuation. Others did not. But their sacrifice had accomplished something that millions of normal human soldiers could not. They had made an empire that conquered worlds afraid of a single planet. Lisa Brooks stood in the ruins of Denver and watched alien ships fleeing toward orbit. In her hand, she held a communicator that was receiving signals from deep space. Signals that were definitely human in origin. Humanity's children were coming home to a world that had refused to die. The Genesis warriors had kept their promise. Earth was free. And the war against those who would enslave human worlds was just beginning.